Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking all 5 Scream movies from worst to best, including the newest entry in the franchise, Scream. Let's be honest, it's Scream 5. So in my opinion, these Scream movies are the most entertaining slasher franchise of all time, and probably my favorite horror series in general. These movies are very consistent from a quality standpoint. There's not one weak entry in my opinion. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the third one, but I still enjoy the movie a ton. They're just really entertaining, goofy horror films that have, a lot of like meta jokes and stuff and references to the genre. Just super entertaining movies, and I'm glad that streak continued with Scream 5. I thought the movie was great. If you guys have not seen my review for it, there is going to be a link down in the comments down below where you guys can hear my non-spoiler thoughts. I'll be saying most of the same things here, but I will be going a little bit more in-depth and discussing some spoilers. But there will be a timestamp so you guys can skip past my spoiler thoughts. With that being said, though, let's get into this ranking. So coming in 5th place for me is going to be Scream 3. I do think this movie's underrated, and like I said, I still enjoy it quite a bit, but it is the weakest entry in the franchise in my opinion. One thing that I've always liked about this movie, however, is the setting. I mean, the fact that it takes place in Hollywood, they're working on the production of, I believe, Stab 2, and you're getting to see, all of these different locations from the first movie, like Stu Mocker's house and whatnot, but recreated as like this Hollywood set on this big production lot. It's a pretty cool concept. I really like the idea behind it. How we get a lot of characters in this movie who are actors playing the characters from the previous movies. So, for example, there's this one character who's playing Gale Weathers, but then we also have the real Gale Weathers in the movie. So that's a concept I've always liked, and I do think that actress, Parker Posey, is definitely the best new character in this movie. I really enjoy her performance and her back and forth with Gale. The rest of the other members of the cast, the new ones, aren't that great in my opinion. A lot of them are very forgettable and killed off quite quickly, and there's just really nothing to them. So they're definitely, I'd say, the weakest characters in the franchise. And the villain as well isn't the greatest in this movie. The reveal of who it is probably the lamest in the franchise. I kind of like the idea of him being like Sidney's half-brother and how the movie dives into how Sidney's mom, back in, when she was younger, she was trying to get into Hollywood. She had a different name back then. She ended up getting pregnant from a bunch of like Hollywood producers and stuff. So it kind of has that commentary and stuff pre all of the Weinstein stuff, but it is kind of bringing that up and whatnot. And so I think that was kind of an interesting idea. But the real villain in this movie is Gale Weathers' hair. I don't know what the heck they were thinking when they did Courtney Cox's hair in this movie. It is terrible. One other thing that's interesting about this movie is that Gale's the main character, in my opinion. Like, Sidney's really not in this movie a whole lot. She's kind of pushed to the side. She's living on her own, away from everybody. She kind of has like this phone helpline and stuff. She definitely like has like some PTSD or something. She's seeing like visions of her mother, which is an aspect of the film I've never really liked. Those hallucination scenes are a little odd in my opinion. But yeah, Sidney's not in the movie a whole lot. It's definitely more focused on Gale, which, like I said, I'm fine with, but I do not know what they're thinking with her haircut. Overall, still a solid movie. I really like the cold open with Cotton Weary being killed off. It's interesting having like a notable character in this franchise. In the other films, it's always just kind of like random characters who are just being introduced. So for this film to start off with a pretty big character getting killed off, I really liked that. I think the scene was executed quite well. The whole like voice changing thing in this movie is a little gimmicky. It does fit for the franchise, but it's technology that doesn't even really exist today, so it's kind of unrealistic, but I think the idea of it's okay. And overall, solid movie. Kills are kind of forgettable and probably the weakest in the franchise. There's also that really stupid explosion scene. But I still enjoy the movie. It's still got the meta humor, and it's still a fun ride overall. Moving into 4th place for me is going to be Scream 4. Now, originally I actually had this in 3rd place, but after rewatching the movies and kind of putting some more thought into it, I'm actually going to be moving it down to 4. It's not that I liked the movie less, it's just that the next movie on this list I ended up enjoying more than I used to. But yeah, Scream 4, still a really solid movie in my opinion. This takes place, and it came out 11 years after Scream 3, so this was, a big return to the franchise, and then there was another 10-year gap before we got Scream 5, and I think this movie does a really solid job at returning to the franchise. The original characters are still the main ones here. It's not like the new film where they're kind of just there as like the legacy characters, but it's focused on the new cast. This movie is still about, Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, and Dewey. They are still the main trio in this film, and I like that about it. But I do like the new characters as well. I don't think they're all that great, but I do like Emma Roberts in the movie as Jill, and her friend whose name is escaping my mind, it's Hayden something. I think those are the two best new characters in the film. In particular, though, I just really like Emma Roberts in this film. I think she's up until Scream 5, she was probably like my second favorite killer in this series. I really like the the reveal there. I thought it was well handled. The fact that she's Sydney's niece and stuff. I do like the way that they write her character, or Sydney's cousin, I believe. Yeah, Sydney's cousin. I like the way that they write her. I love the scene where she's like, having to like mess herself up to make it look like she was attacked by Ghostface. So she like stabs herself in the shoulder and like jumps on the table, rips her hair out. That's a pretty hilarious scene. I really like the way they handled it. The movie also does a pretty good job at like incorporating some more modern stuff. So they bring in like live streaming into this, and how Ghostface in this movie is like recording all of his kills and stuff, so that his legacy will like live on forever. I like the idea behind that. And it has a lot of commentary about like sequels, happening years after the original. So again, fun movie. It's got some pretty good kills. There's not a ton of kills, but there's definitely some brutal ones. Like there's the one cop that gets stabbed in the head. That's a pretty gruesome kill. And yeah, just an entertaining movie. I like the setting. It's back, just like in the regular town, which is something that's nice. I like, everybody like in the film that's returning. They all do a great job. I do really like. Deputy Hicks in this movie. I think her character is pretty funny, and like her back and forth with Gail I really like. So the movie's just, it's still good fun. It's still an entertaining movie. And like I said, I really like the killer, and I especially like that scene where she's just having to like throw herself into all these different objects. Next up in my list is Scream 2. So originally I did have this film below Scream 4, but after rewatching it a few weeks ago, I did find myself enjoying it more than I used to. I think it's all around a really solid movie, and I actually think it's the creepiest Scream movie. I don't find slasher films scary at all, and in particular the Scream movies definitely aren't, but I do think this film is definitely the creepiest, and it has some of the most like effective chase scenes and whatnot. I've always really liked the one where Dale and Dewey are like in like the sound studio area or whatever at the school campus. I've always thought that scene was really well put together. And it's actually, like, there's some good, scares there and whatnot. I also really like the car scene when Sydney gets into the car crash. That's pretty effective. The movie has some good kills. There's some pretty great ones, especially the cop who gets, like, the metal bar through his head. That's pretty crazy. So the movie's definitely, like I said, I think it's the most creepy film in the franchise. And I like the college setting as well, like, or university, whatever it is. But I like the campus that they're on. That being the main setting is pretty good. There's some big deaths, like Randy gets killed off in the movie, which some people were disappointed by, especially how early on it happens. I do wish he got killed a little later into the movie, but he's still entertaining in the movie. So yeah, I like all that stuff. The weakest aspect for me, though, has always been the killer. I really don't like the killer. I think the reveal of the killer in 3 is the weakest, but I think this movie actually might have my least favorite killer, especially from like a performance standpoint. I don't like Timothy Olyphant in this movie. I find he goes way too over the top, and not in a good way. Like, obviously, Stu Mocker in the original, Matthew Lillard is over the top there, but it works. And it's almost like Timothy Olyphant is trying to do an impersonation of that, and it just doesn't work. Impersonation. But yeah, he doesn't really do a good job in the film. I don't really like when he's revealed as the killer. And then, obviously, there's the other lady who gets revealed to be Billy's mom. That was a decent twist. Again, she's definitely better than Timothy Olyphant is, but she's still kind of, I don't know, a little bit too weird in my opinion. But yeah, other than that, again, effective movie, creepiest in the franchise in my opinion. I like the back and forth with all the characters. There's some really hilarious Gale and Dewey moments that I love in this movie. So it's just a really fun film, and a really solid entry in the franchise. Moving into second place, we have the newest entry in the series, Scream 5. This movie was awesome in my opinion. I was very excited for it. Just getting to return to this franchise, have the original characters back, have a new interesting cast of characters. A lot of the casting choices I was really excited for, especially Jack Quaid, and he killed in the movie, no pun intended. But like everybody in the film just did a really good job. I absolutely love the new cast of characters. I think they are the best characters in this franchise since the original movie. I thought they were all really good. I liked the relationships between them. They were well written, so really solid movie for its characters and whatnot. But like I said, it's just a great return to this franchise. It fits in with the others. From the trailers, it looked more serious than the other movies. The trailers definitely weren't showing off like the meta aspect, which didn't bother me. Like if this movie had just been more serious, I would have been fine with it. And I would say it's probably the most serious Scream film, I would say. It definitely feels like that, but it's still got all of the humor and stuff you would like. In this movie, they're actually making some pretty hilarious jokes about current movie fandoms and how they react to certain entries and franchises and stuff. So in this one, they're talking about how Stab 8 was super controversial. Fans hated it, and it was directed by the same guy who made Knives Out. That was a joke I found to be pretty funny. Dead Meat, like one of my favorite YouTube channels, they are in this movie as like a little YouTube podcast who's discussing that film. So that was a little thing that I loved. If you're like a horror fan and you like watching those guys' channels, seeing that little Easter egg was great. So a lot of things like that I really liked. And then, like I said, I thought having the returning actors back from the originals is great as well. They're not in the movie a ton. Neve Campbell's there like a decent amount. She's not like a huge part of the movie, but she's still pretty solid. Dewey is definitely Dewey's always been my favorite character in the series, so I obviously love seeing him back. Courtney Cox was the only returning character who to me just kind of felt out of place. She was really just there for being present because they have the other two back, so they might as well have her back. I didn't really find she did anything though. She just gets stabbed pretty quickly and then she's just kind of injured for the rest of the movie, so I don't know, I just didn't really find that she was involved all that much. It was still nice having her, but I just wish they could have done more with her. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to be diving into spoilers now, so if you guys haven't seen the movie, you can skip to this part here. But yeah, I mean, damn, Dewey dies. That was definitely sad. I figured he was going to die going into the movie. I figured they were going to kill off at least one legacy character, and I just figured he would be the one, especially because the trailers threw in that shot of Courtney Cox in slow-mo screaming, and I was like, oh, it's going to be Dewey. I wish they didn't include that shot, but yeah, I mean, it sucked seeing him die. Especially, like, the way he goes out, like, it kind of annoyed me how, like, he's just like, you gotta shoot them in the head, and then he leaves, and I was like, oh, well, it's just one-on-one, he's gonna get killed here. I thought there was gonna be a second Ghostface that was gonna come out and get him, but they didn't exactly handle it the way I thought they would. But, yeah, his death was pretty brutal as well. Like, he gets his chest just, like, sliced open, and then he bleeds out a ton. So it sucks seeing Dewey die, because he's just such an awesome character. Rest in peace. But yeah, he goes out, and then you obviously get, the reveal at the end of the movie. There's two ghost faces, as per usual in this franchise. And I really liked the ghost faces in this movie, in particular Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid was the best new character in this movie. I thought he was hilarious here. He had so many funny lines throughout the film, and I really liked his performance. And his death was great. I absolutely loved the way he got killed off in this. It was so brutal. He gets stabbed like 20-something times, and then he gets his throat slit. Like, it was just so over the top. Oh, and then he gets shot a couple times as well. So, yeah, his death was so, like, over the top, and I loved it. The other Ghostface, I can't remember the name of the actress. It's, like, it's, like, Mikey Madison or something, who was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Her death was pretty great. I think it was done as, like, an homage to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, since she gets burned as well in this, and then gets shot in the head. So I liked her death a lot. Just a lot of great moments in this movie. It just felt like a Scream film, and I just love it about it. Like, it just felt like a continuation of this franchise. They didn't, like, ruin it in any way, which I'm glad about. Like, I'm glad this still stuck to what the originals were like. It felt like a movie Wes Craven would have made, and I'm glad that they, like, dedicated it to him and stuff. Like, it was a very good movie that was just all around thoroughly entertaining. The kills were pretty great. It's the most brutal film in the franchise, I would say, probably. I have to think about that, but I'd say it probably is. There's definitely like, some gruesome ones here. It's just all around super entertaining. And going back to the characters for a second, there's also the two main sisters who were great. Like, I wasn't expecting to care for the characters as much in this movie, but I really liked them. The girl who survives the opening attack, just her being in the wheelchair and stuff, and then her sister, you find out that she's Billy Loomis's daughter, which was a twist that I liked. I didn't think the, like, CGI Billy Loomis incorporation was the greatest. It kind of looked a little off at times. And I think the movie probably could have done without, like, having him show up as, like, this thing that she's seeing, but I did like the twist for sure, and like I said, I thought their relationship was great, and probably, like, one of the best character things in this franchise. I just really liked the writing between the two of them. So overall, super fun movie. Definitely makes me want to have a Scream 6 now. Like, I would love to see a Scream 6 with these characters and some new ones. Just all around, super entertaining movie. But finally, we come to the last spot on this list. My favorite movie in the series is, without a doubt, the original Scream. This is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's in my top 5, I believe. I can't remember when I did my list earlier this year, but earlier last year. But it's just such a great movie. It's so entertaining. It brought back the slasher genre, and there's a lot of movies that, were very similar to this. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Halloween H2O took a lot of inspiration from this movie, so it kind of brought back the franchise, or brought back the genre, and then the genre kind of died again, and then we got some like shitty remakes in the 2010s, and then the genre died again, and now it's kind of coming back somewhat, so it's just all over the place, but yeah, I mean, this movie is just so entertaining. I've always loved just like the meta humor and just how over the top and just entertaining it is. Like the movie, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and I love that about it. I'm not saying I need every film to be like this, because I do like it when films take themselves seriously, but I've always loved the tone of this movie. They just execute it perfectly. It's so fun. The characters are great. I love all the, like, the movie references and stuff. And I think, like, the best part of this movie, Dewey is so hilarious in this movie, and his relationship with Gail, like, there's so many scenes with him. The one where he's talking about how he was 24 for a whole year. Like, scenes like that just crack me up every time. But the one character who just makes this movie as well is Stu Mocker, played by Matthew Lillard.
One? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back!
Easily my favorite killer in this franchise. Like, I like Billy Loomis a lot. I think he's a great, villain, but I think that Stu it's just so damn funny. Like, all of his lines, especially in the end of the movie when he's, like, super injured and stuff, he has so many quotable moments. I love his death with the TV getting pushed on his head. He's just so freaking hilarious in this movie.
Peer pressure. I'm far too sensitive.
I'm gonna rip you up, you
boy.
Fuck!
Fucking hit me with the phone, Dick! My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
So I absolutely love Matthew Lillard's performance in this. He's just great. And the rest of the characters, like Sidney Prescott is probably my favorite, scream queen. I wouldn't really call her that, honestly, but I would say she's like the best lead character in a slasher franchise, because I like the Halloween movies, but I've never really found that Laurie Strode was that, like, interesting of a character compared to, like, Sidney Prescott. Like, Sidney Prescott has a lot to her. She's a character who appears in every single movie, and, she's great in the role. Neve Campbell's great. And all the other side characters, Randy, there's so many funny moments in this, like, look out, Jamie, look out. Like, it's just, there's so many things. I could go on and on about how much I love this movie. It's a very rewatchable film. I've seen it quite a few times, and it's the kind of movie that I could watch, like, every few weeks and probably not get sick of it. It's just that fun. Henry Winkler, like, there's just so much that's great about this movie. So yeah, I absolutely love Scream. It is a 10 out of 10 movie for me. Scream 5 is probably about a 9 or so, like, or like an 8.5. Like, it's very high up there. I definitely want to see it again. Scream 2 would be about a 7.5. Scream 4 about a 7.5, and then finally I'm very, like, lost right now. Scream 3 would probably be about a 7. So, like, they're all a 7 or above for me, and a 7 is a good rating in my opinion. So yeah, just a super entertaining franchise. I love it a lot, and I'm very glad that the newest entry did not disappoint. So there you go, guys. That is my ranking for all the Scream movies. Let me know what your thoughts on this franchise and your ranking is down below, and I will see you in the next video.